let's talk about turn-offs and turn-ons, okay? Who here likes alpha macho men? Show of hands. Okay. Who here likes beta cuck type men? Okay, so no one on the panel. Nat, you didn't raise your hand.
I didn't hear your question. I was
Yeah. Oh. Pay attention, woman.
Hey, woman.
I'm sorry. I'm like, you literally caught me in the middle of
No, it's all good.
So what would you say is the biggest turn-on from someone like an Andrew Tate type, even him, an alpha macho man that says what's on his mind? Biggest turn-on, but also, what is a big turn-off about that type of guy? Let's start with you, Gabby. Turn on.
That they know what they want. So they have like their eyes set on it. They feel confident in what they're saying to you. But then the turn off, I think, could be the other side of it, where sometimes they might be over masculine in the sense where they're covering some of their insecurities.
Okay. You're talking about toxic masculinity? How were you referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have an alpha guy who's secure and kind of tells you this is how I fucking feel and kind of puts you in your place, or more of a beta guy that's like, whatever you want, baby, whatever you want?
No,
If you
I'd
had to
rather have
pick
the
one.
first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, kind of comes with the territory.
Right.
Sarah, in the house, biggest turn on and biggest turn off with these types of guys?
Biggest turn-ons, I would say stability, and knowing that you will be like provided for, protected. I think that's essentially what women look for and seek out, is to be protected and provided for. I think that I don't really have a turn-off against these kinds of men. This is like the kind of men I look for and that I want. But I guess the only thing would be is when you do have really high-value men, it's obviously their time is limited. So if it's someone who really is big on quality time, it might be like hard for them because you're going around their schedule, essentially. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of.
Would you rather have 24 hours with a beta male or an hour with an alpha?
I would rather have 5 minutes with an
Oh,
alpha male.
whoa! Hey, I could possibly get you 5 minutes with somebody, so we'll see what we could do. Tony, biggest turn on and biggest turn off with an alpha type of guy?
I think that an alpha type of guy, I think the biggest turn on is they know how to manage the alpha. I think a guy, one that's truly in a good relationship and one that truly loves his significant other is one that can be beta at some times, and they know exactly when to be alpha, what environment, what adaptability, they go into work and they know to be alpha, but at home I don't think necessarily you need to be alpha. There needs to be times where you are genuine with your other person, and I think my biggest turn off would be, there's too much of everything. So like she was saying, a lot of guys, toxic relationships, we've all been in one. Guys get controlling and they get a little too toxic, and I think that, there needs to be a line of, is that alpha or is that just controlling? Right.
So 2 things. You talked about sometimes an alpha guy can be a beta. I think what you're referring to is just being present and having your attention, which I think can be a masculine quality. Absolutely. As well. He's there for you, quality time. I know that's very big for women, right? I remember I did like the 5 love languages with a girl I was dating years ago, and we went through the list, and we lived together, she worked for me, we traveled together, and we did the whole 5 love languages thing, and my 5th on the list was quality time, and her number 1, I'm like, what are you talking about? We lived together, she's like, but you don't ever pay attention to me, and I was like, what are you talking about, bitch? Like, all I do is spend the whole time with you. And I didn't fully get it, but I do understand that women like a man who's present, put the phone down, be locked in. Even if it's for 5 minutes, women want to know that you're dialed in.
Yeah, I think it's more so too, like, when you are a really busy man, it's like knowing that you can just have they care about you enough. I think that's a really big indicator too, that like a man does really care about you, is that they're willing to give you their time, even if it's just for like 10 minutes, All right. It's
what does Coach Greg Adams always say is that every girl wants your meat, your M-E-A-T, your money, your energy, your attention, and your time. So, just be careful with your meat, all right, Vin? You're slinging that meat everywhere. I know, I've seen you in these streets. I'm talking about your money, energy, your attention,
Yeah,
your
I
time,
wasn't talking
obviously.
about, we're not talking about meat.
And then you said one more thing about sometimes these types of guys can be controlling. Yeah. How so?
I think more so, there's a lot of toxic relationships where these guys, it's all insecurities. It's, you're getting ready to go to lunch with the girls and they start a fight. Or, there's a lot of things that, guys, they want to, even guys that look over your phone or look at your location. I mean, girls have been through all of that where a guy is.
So do you think that's insecurity on their part, or is that something that you're doing, not enabling them to be more secure?
It's a combination.
Yeah, it's a combination.
Okay, give me the combination.
I mean, if I need to make my man secure, then he's not an alpha, first of all, right?
I guess it's a mix. I feel like there should be a level of trust. So if that person trusts you, and then if you're doing something that maybe you're not recognizing is maybe triggering them to behave in that way, then like I can understand
Yeah,
that. There's a
I think
disconnect.
if especially like if somebody's going through your phone, like those relationships, like it's like what if you're not trusting this person? You're like,
Right.
I had a girl that used to do that. I'm like, yo, listen, then what are we doing? You don't. I need some privacy. Like I'm talking to my mom, and those are personal.
Right.
No, I want to see who you're talking to. It's like, yo, then what are we doing together? If you don't trust me at that level, then we have other problems than just
And I
that.
can promise you this, as someone that has had their phone unlocked, you're not gonna like what you find.
Period.
But you're
Period.
Even if it's not that big of a deal,
100%.
they will make it a big deal.
But if you're
because a guy will
looking-
speak to a girl, a friend of mine, like, or, hey baby, how are you? Hey hon, what's up? Like, who's this guy? It's like, oh, that's my cousin.
Yeah.
Like,
Always finds
what?
out.
Like, you're not gonna like it, and
Yes. Yeah.
so it's just be wary when you start going into guys' phones like that. But the controlling thing, back to this, give me an example of a guy who was just like clearly in the wrong, that he was too controlling, and then maybe give an example of what you could have done better to alleviate his concerns. You don't need to name names like it's communism. Just
I think, I've been definitely in an abusive relationship, and I think, what I could have done better is probably not be in it. But again, I was 16 years old, I was young, and there's a lot of males out there that, push limits, and they are very manipulating emotionally and physically.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of women have dealt with that at some extent to
can I
another.
address that? What in my experience, those types of men, on the surface, they come off as alpha and macho. They are
They're not.
soft as fuck and broken.
Not at all.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
The shout out,
Absolutely.
gentlemen out there, you want to be a tough guy, be a tough guy to other men.
Right.
Don't be a tough guy to your woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? It's like, it's so weak and it's so broken. And I would encourage any man to look in the mirror. If that's the type of guy you are, look deep in the mirror and be like, why am I treating a woman this way?
Yeah.
Especially my girl.
Yes.
Not a good look for you boys.
I think that's a big, a big thing too, that especially younger women in dating, I feel like you haven't necessarily experienced a man who can actually kind of like take care of you, especially if you're dating around your age range and you're younger. When you start to get a little bit older and you start to date up, I feel like you'll start to see that a little bit differently. But it's essentially, I think, like he said, it's a lot of confusion in these aren't actually people who are, this is where the toxic masculinity thing gets confusing, because I don't think masculinity is toxic. I think it's people who are narcissistic or actually abusive. They're not good men that are portraying this, and that's where women start to get the feeling of calling people who are actually very good men, like in Andrew Tate, toxic masculinity, and that's where the confusion lies. I think it's just because in modern day now, we don't really see a lot of men being men anymore, especially in the Western world.
So if you like that clip, click right here to watch another, or if you want to watch the entire SOSCAST, click right here.